Hurricane Laura is gaining strength as it swirls closer and closer to Louisiana, the Louisiana-Texas border. Forecasters predict Laura could be the most powerful storm to make landfall in Louisiana since the Civil War. Now just take a look at this foreboding image there. Wow, NOAA's satellite view shows the hurricane bursting with lightning in the Gulf Coast. Reporter Camila Bernal is live in Beaumont, Texas. Camila, good evening to you. How are folks in this region getting ready for this?
Hey Liz, good evening. So people who are getting ready for this are up against the clock because we're just hours away from that severe weather. Right now is what you would call the calm before the storm, but the reality is that so many people had to evacuate this area. That was the warning from authorities that some areas could experience wind speeds between 100 and 150 miles per hour. That picture of Hurricane Laura that you just showed, that perfect picture is scaling or right now tracking at 150 miles per hour. That's only 7 miles away from a Category 5 hurricane. It is massive. It is what authorities are calling a monster, and it is what the National Weather Service is saying unsurvivable because of the storm surge. It could be up to 20 feet of storm surge, and that is what's dangerous. The water, the rain, and then the wind, of course, because that wind can knock down power lines, can rip off roofs, and then of course that also means that people may be without power for weeks at a time, and that is why people are being told to evacuate, to leave this area as soon as possible, and really at this point to make a decision, because people need to stay put at this point so that they're not driving or out in general as this storm approaches.
It's very complicated, Camila. I mean, the governor went on to say as well that this storm surge could be unsurvivable as well. So are folks heeding this warning? What can they do?
Well, look, and here's the thing. Not only is it unsurvivable, but they're also saying that they're not going to come and rescue you. So there is a blackout period between about 7 p.m. tonight local time and 9 a.m. local time where they will not come to rescue you, even if you call 911. And so that is why it's so important to evacuate and to get out of the area. And it's also why they're saying that from now on, they're on their own. Anybody who's staying behind is essentially going to be riding out the storm on their own. After that, they're going to start preparing for search and rescue operations, because that is what they expect from a storm this massive. This massive of a storm has not hit this area specifically, the border between Texas and Louisiana, ever. This area is used to a lot of these storms, like Harvey, like Ike, like Rita, but this is a different one, and this is one that comes with force and that is expected to move inland fairly quickly in the next couple of hours.
And on top of all of this, there's a pandemic, which is obviously complicating the issues there. All right, Camila Bernal, thank you so much.
All right, let's bring in Paul Hagan, and this thing is massive, and you've covered hurricanes before. This thing, what's the storm surge? Is that the biggest concern here?
That's the immediate concern.
Yeah.
Obviously, 150-mile-an-hour winds are going to do a lot of damage around the vicinity of the eye. The strongest winds are always in the eye wall, which is the area surrounding that calm at the center of the storm. This is an impressive-looking satellite perspective here. The more symmetrical a hurricane looks like from space, the stronger it is. The more it has its act together, there are those 150-mile-an-hour sustained winds. The one piece of good news is that it's moving. Hurricane Harvey essentially stalled out over Texas, even backed up a little bit. This one is going to continue progressing, but it is going to be a rough ride. This radar imagery, really, you can clearly see the eye surrounding those. Man, just very heavy rainfall and intense winds. So within that orange shaded area, that's where you're going to get those 150-mile-an-hour sustained winds, which means the gusts are going to be up to 175, 180 miles an hour. The path takes it directly towards Lake Charles, Louisiana, just a little bit to the southwest of that city, but that puts them on the right front side, and that's not where you want to be. Maintaining strength as it makes landfall around 11 o'clock our time tonight. It does move inland quickly, and as it interacts with land, friction just slows down the wind speeds. Still a tropical storm by tomorrow afternoon, then it becomes post-tropical over the next couple of days. In terms of that storm surge, let's zoom in for a closer look at what we expect along the Louisiana coastline. All of these red shaded areas anticipated to get at least 12 feet. Think about that. One story is 10 feet. So we're talking over the height of a one-story house. That's the wall of water that's going to be moving inland. Some places 20 feet. And this is an entire stretch of land here where the elevation is about 5 to 10 feet above sea level. So this is going to reach 30, 40 miles inland.